What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Marissa Automotive Group. Marissa is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Marissa has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Marissa team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune in to the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Happy New Year. Thank you guys for tuning in to our second year of podcasts. Third year?
Yeah,
this
third
is
year.
our year 3.
Well,
Damn.
going into year 3.
Yeah, so we're just getting started. But thank you guys for staying with us and listening. Happy New Year. I'm your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I'm your other host, Luke Farrell. And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. I want to shout out our friends over at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis for sponsoring the show, allowing us to do what we do. If you guys didn't know, St. Louis is an arts town. So we want to celebrate that. And of course, our friends over at Four Hands and our newest sponsor, Marissa Autosport. Super excited to have John and the team over there driving this podcast forward with Marissa Autosport. So we're gonna go pick up our new car here in a day or so. I think tomorrow. So we'll go check out our new car. But we have a very special guest today, fresh off of a fender bender on the way into the studio today.
Not necessary. Oh my God. A good friend of ours, a very good friend of ours who has sponsored many of our events. It's like the highlight of our events. People just love. We hope that we've been able to drive business towards you. But without further ado, we have Jake Norton with Fête Booth.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
And shout out to the Bumeritos. We did a big Bumerito wedding this year and their holiday party.
Hey, let's go. Thank
Double
you for
whammy.
that. So first of all, thank you for coming in today. It's been a long time coming getting you on the show. We want to hear about you. We met you at all these events, but I want to hear a little bit about your backstory. Kind of tell us where you're from, growing up, childhood, stuff like that.
All right, cool. So I grew up on the Illinois side over around Carlisle. I come from a dairy farming family. So my uncle and aunt still farm. It's one of the big Prairie Farms dairies. And then I went to SIUE for college. The classic St. Louis question, where'd you go to high school? I went to Metro East Lutheran across the river. And so, so we grew up kind of going to Blues games and ball games and Rams games and all of that stuff. And super excited to be a soccer town now.
Yes,
so,
Rams games. Throw back to those days, the Rams. So how far out of St. Louis then was your hometown?
So because
I'm not really familiar with Illinois.
So basically I kind of feel that if you are leaving St. Louis going to Chicago, it's an hour and a half.
Okay.
You know, so not too far. And then we also, I lived for a short time in Flora, and that's over in Illinois. And so Laura Hediger on Channel 4 is from Flora. I have a really good friend, Zoe, that's a realtor. But so there's a comical amount of people from, the various hometowns that I run into at different events.
And these are small towns.
Yeah.
So how many, in your hometown, it was just a very, very small school, very small hometown?
Yeah, I went to a grade school that had a dozen kids in the class.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
Till 4th grade. And then I think we had 2 4th grade classes of, 30, 35.
Nothing.
Yeah. So it was, nothing super big.
So then when you went to SIUE, and then what brought you over here? How long have you been?
So I moved over to the Missouri side in college. I had, my best friend from high school went to SLU for law. And so we were roommates, and I bartended in the Grove and was, I nannied and was just kind of figuring it out.
Well, I'm trying to, like, this is why I'm asking, because I'm, like, trying to figure out, like, you're so social. And
Yeah.
coming from a small town where you've got, 2 fourth grade classes, like, or have you always just been a social person? Like,
I've definitely always been social. I grew up with a grandma where, like, if you're in the car, she can point out every house and tell you their birthdays, their anniversaries,
that's
and she'd send cards out for everything. But she was kind of a driving around almanac of info, like a human encyclopedia.
That's
And so it was one of those things where everyone in my family, I think, has always been pretty social.
Yeah.
So
it's just natural for you.
So let's talk about, life after college for a little bit. Because like you said, you were nannying, you were bartending. Like, did you have a passion for anything? Did you want to be something before starting your own business? Like, tell us about some of those jobs before.
I really, the joke was always kind of, I wish I could figure out a way to get paid to go to parties. And so I think that was a big part of where bartending kind of came into it. And so, I was actually bartending, and we closed the bar for a private event, a birthday party, and they had a photo booth company there, and I kind of, clicked with the owner, and that's kind of where I got started in the event side.
Okay.
But yeah.
So now you get paid to party.
Yeah, pretty much.
Paid
That's
to
awesome.
party.
The irony being is that when I was little, my mom was a wedding videographer when I was really small.
Oh.
So there was, I guess, an aspect of it somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's lots of video footage of me running around as, 4, 5, and 6
Sure.
at various weddings and
That's
stuff
Helping
like that.
out, or just because she's like,
Just having a
you
good
have to
time.
come, you
Yeah.
have to come with us. And
Yeah. Well, in a small town, I feel like everyone gets invited to the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're there anyway,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
You're just working. You're getting paid to party.
Do you do any gigs out in your hometown a lot?
Yeah,
yeah.
several. There's a couple really cool venues out in the Carlisle area. So there's one that's up for sale that I really hope somebody buys and
Really?
revitalizes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to put us. That's like something I think about often. Just after going through our wedding, I'm like, that's where like business is. That's where the money is. Plus, I just enjoyed planning our wedding, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how cool would it be to like have a venue and like have certain partnerships with different vendors, and like I just think long term that would make sense. So
Maybe you should buy it.
no.
It's a little bit of a drive for where
your
where the
business.
majority of the business is at
Yeah.
this point.
So let's talk about the business, Fête Booth,
Yeah.
and just kind of when it was started, how it came to be, what your partnerships, how it's grown. Just I want to talk all things that you do.
Yeah, so I worked for another photo booth company for like 7 or 8 years, and then I also had a really cool floral internship with an event and design florist company, and then I also did some things kind of here and there for some of the planning companies in St. Louis, and it was a thing of Fête Booth had been kind of originally started by a really good friend of mine, and it was just the booths were just being sent out to like all the Capital One cafe openings, and it was originally designed as a company where the booths were set up as drop-offs or being sent out and kind of doing long-term rentals. And this friend had some health issues in the family and basically reached out and was like, hey, do you want to absorb this? If anybody can take it places, I think it's you. And so basically we worked with 2 different companies. There's a manufacturing company that does the build out itself, and then there's a software company, and we've combined that. And then, it's just kind of grown like crazy from there.
What
Was
year
there
was
any?
that?
2017.
Okay.
2017.
Was there any hesitation to take it over?
No,
No, you were like, let's do
I was
it.
like, yeah, absolutely, let's go.
Yeah. Full.
And you
full
guys weren't
force.
doing weddings at that point. Like you said, you were just like putting it at like new
Yeah, it was.
businesses.
I mean, there were some weddings being done and stuff like that, but the majority it was kind of set up with the concept of like a little bit more of a long-term rental white label situation.
So like you come here, you like, sign up for a new credit card, you take like a picture at Capital One or whatever. But now it's like you can't go to like even an event and not see a photo booth, let alone weddings.
Yes.
I mean, every wedding has
When
one.
did that change? Because I feel like just even in the last few years of like when we started our wedding, like that, it's like a must. You have to have your photo booth.
I definitely have always been a big advocate for like, yeah, every event needs a photo booth of some kind, because even if they don't hire me, they got to hire somebody. And yeah, I definitely believe that a rising tide kind of lifts all the ships in the harbor. So yeah, so I definitely am passionate about that. And it's also just one of those things where it's, you know, it's tangible memories. And so especially for like a wedding, for example, it's one of the few things that you get to do and experience that night, and then you keep it for forever. You know, it's on your phones, there's printouts, you can do the digital picture frames and upload stuff to it. And we get tagged, you know, on like Mother's Day and Father's Day, we get tagged in a lot of funny images from the booth from, you know, parents and grandparents and stuff like that. And we have a lot of people now that reach out about getting their images, like just the image by itself without the overlay, you know, the cute frame we do for the event, so that they can use it for their holiday cards and stuff like that. So that's a really fun aspect of social media, is kind of, you know, getting to see things. We play a game with my staff members that are single to see if they can ever like find people on Tinder or Hinge or stuff where their dating profile photo is one of the photos. Like that's a favorite of mine. That's a really cool game.
Send it in a group chat.
Exactly.
Like, hey, got one.
Yeah, it's really entertaining in that regard. And then it's fun to kind of just see all over. I mean, I'm also always amused when I randomly come across somebody on social media and like that's their profile picture, and I'm like, yes,
yeah, that's a win.
So yeah.
Photo
That's
creds.
crazy. So how many people work within the company? Because, I mean, you have,
So
we're going to talk about the events.
So we have 18 staff right now, and we're working up to, I would like a goal of having 25 people that are fully trained and ready. Just because I can't expect my team to be working every Saturday. And so if they can give me, I want 2 Saturdays a month and 1 Friday, and that way, that if I have 25 people that can give me that much time.
Right.
And obviously, I have some staff that's, you know, a lot hungrier for more and wants to be working more consistently, but we kind of have that as a baseline, and then you can go beyond that.
Yeah, that can fluctuate.
So a lot of people, it's just like you get your list of events, you know where your people live. You're like, oh, hey, you live over in the Grove. We have 3 events down here. Like you kind of coordinate that way.
It doesn't. We don't necessarily.
System?
It's not. I don't really do our scheduling within the realm of where they live, because they still are going to have to come to the office and get the equipment and then bring it back after the event. But I do have certain staff that I understand that, you know, they have everyone's going to have favorites, favorite venues, favorite planners to work with, things like that.
Yeah.
And then whenever we have a client or a venue or a planner that, you know, I don't want anyone to hesitate to be like, oh, like I would like to have so-and-so to come and work. That would be great. And my parents are a tremendous help. And so they come and they work events. My mom and I are pretty much the same person.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When I first met you, your mom was there for the first bucket list party. You guys were like eating lunch downstairs. They were like eating lunch downstairs, and I like waved at you, and I'm like, hey, come on up. Because you had gotten there like 4 hours early, just because you're like, I got nothing to do. I'm
right.
sit here and eat lunch with my mom.
Yeah, I was like, I'd rather be there. I'd rather if I can always go somewhere early and work on my computer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For
like
sure.
I'm always down for an extra 90 minutes
And if there's
of
lunch.
emails. Yeah, absolutely.
The emails.
You get a ton of emails, I'm sure.
So the goal is 25 people, and how many events would you say you guys are averaging? Like, I mean, we just wrapped up 2023. How'd you do?
We did really well. I mean, we would like to do for 2024. I want to surpass, you know, more than 500 weddings this next year, and then I would like to do maybe another 600 other events.
Yeah.
We do a lot of mitzvahs, a lot of lots of corporate stuff, tons of holiday parties.
Oh yeah.
Grand openings. I mean, we do a handful of funerals every year, celebration of life, stuff like that. Okay. So it's just one of those things where like some people are like, hey, when I go, I want a carnival afterwards. I don't want it to be, you know, a tear fest. Like I want face painting and fireworks. And I'm here for that. That's really fun.
Yeah, that matches your energy. That's got to be so fun to like just engage with so many different audiences and people based on, you know, whatever the event is, and like you bring it every time. So like, does that ever get tiring, or is that just authentic to that's just you? It's I mean, you're like always on. Like, it's
I don't feel like I mean, I try to manage the burnout really well. And my business partner, Elizabeth, is also very aware of, you know, she can gauge pretty well to be like, hey, we got to get you,
Time
you
for
know,
a vacation,
exactly.
maybe.
But the other thing is that, I mean, for me, I would rather be at a really cool party working the event. Like that is definitely something for me that I find a lot of fulfillment in and I have a lot of fun with. So I feel really lucky in that regard that I, you know, and also I don't have a typical job like most people. I mean, we're in different venues every weekend, you know, and a big wedding, I can be at Union Station with 400 of my closest new friends for that night, you know, and you're always meeting new people. And at this point, I think that we've been around enough and done enough events that every event we go to, there's at least someone that comes up and goes, oh, this was at so-and-so's, or very frequently people have it, you know, they can just pull it up on their phone. So yeah, it's really cool in that regard.
It's like cool to like look back and see like the impact, because in 2017 when you when you took it over, I mean, could you imagine doing the volume that you do now, having almost 20 people? Like,
yeah, I don't. It was one of those things where we've grown kind of at a steady pace to where I haven't really, at no point am I like sitting down and trying to make projections, because we're doing a lot of, you know, just trying to keep up with, you know, the magnitude of what we're doing and everything else. And there's always last minute events. We have a lot of there's a lot of different other vendors that, for example, so if catering, if you have, you know, if in the last 90 days, if you lose 2 or 3 tables worth of people, well, what you would have spent on catering centerpieces, tablecloths, and their open bar, it may not be enough for catering to do a new experience for your other 300 guests. And so I have a lot of vendor partners that'll say, hey, you know, you can do the photo booth that we talked about, or you can do an eye candy rentals backdrop in a neon, or, you know, we can
Spend
add this,
extra
we can
money
do that.
every year.
Yeah, because a lot of companies, nobody wants to say, hey, you know, there's not really anything we can do for this many people that's still in your budget. So instead they like to go, hey, you can pivot and do this now.
Yeah.
You know,
And give them
and they
something.
still
An
give the options of, you know, we
experience
can add a food and beverage experience, we can add this, we can add that, but it will cost more, or, you know, so
Yeah.
it's been really great in that regard. We still have, it's interesting because I would say compared to a decade ago, the planning time in which for kind of luxury add-ons, which is what we are, has shortened considerably. Now, we still have couples and clients that are booked through 2025 because, you know, if I did your sister's wedding and you know you're going to have me and you already have your date, then you're going to lock it in as soon as possible, or reach out to me and find out what kind of deals or offers we're going to have, just so that it's kind of checked off the list. But then we have other people that at the very end go, hey, you're in budget. I know we're a month out. Is there any way we can do it? And one thing that I really love with how Elizabeth has built the website is that you can just go online, put in a date, and see exactly what's available on your day. So all of our equipment is awake every day, and then it kind of goes to sleep when somebody else books it on that day. So it is really nice for our clients that they can go and immediately kind of hop online, see what's available, book in real time, put down a deposit or pay in full, and get the ball rolling. And that's also been nice because I don't have to tell brides no, like any couple that's engaged. By you being able to plug in and see your date and everything else, that's really nice, because then you can see what is tangibly
the
there
computer's
for you.
telling them no,
Yeah.
rather than you being like, hey, no, like, because it used to probably be a lot of like texts and emails and phone calls and like,
well,
all
and
that.
we kind of pride ourselves on, I almost never tell a couple or a client no. Your budget may tell you no. Do you want a Clydesdale in the booth? Absolutely. Like if it's a Grant's Farm, it's really easy, but we can have one of the Budweiser Clydesdales brought out to your event. You can have it in your photos. It's got to be part of the budget, but it's not no, it's yes. However,
yes, and
and we just had a really cool holiday party where we had the Clydesdale in the booth, and we've done it with miniature ponies. We've had a llama before, you know, like there's different like
and you coordinate that.
cool
You're just like,
experiences.
yeah.
We can coordinate it like for them, or they can do that. Some of the venues offer it, and then there's also like a couple petting zoos in the area that you can kind of have brought in and stuff.
So you're
like
just
that.
out here working with people and animals too. Like you're just
the animal stuff is just kind of fun and different, and everyone gets such a kick out of it.
It's so interesting because you're so good at guiding people in the photo booth, so that way the photos turn out so like that is pure talent. Like when you're in line waiting and I just watch you and you're like, okay, now you're gonna do this. Now, you just make it so simple that like it's funny because at our bucket list party, the 30 annual, the girl in front of me was like, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be so, I'm like, oh no, Jake's got you. Like, he'll tell you exactly. And she went up there and she was having a ball. And I'm like, you just simplify it because it's stressful to be like, what pose are we going to do?
Well, some people don't like to get their pictures taken. And some people are like, oh, I don't know. Like, what do I do with my hands?
Or I have a prop and an award. And like,
Yeah.
what do I do with that? You know? So you do such a good job at curating. Like,
yes, we love to choreograph kind of all of the moments and all the images. And our staff is always really, really good about that because it's more fun if you just kind of get to show up. And I kind of think of it, there's two different ways. I think of it kind of like the Austin Powers photo shoot where it's just more fun to have someone be like, you're amazing, you're fabulous, you're gorgeous, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then you walk away and you have you have the digital videos on your phone immediately. You have the printed out, photos in your hand and people go, well, that was so cool. I love that. And it also helps bring people back, or they go back to their table and their group and they go, okay, you have to go do the photo booth.
Right.
And then at the end of the night, people are still trying to get into the booth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we, it's kind of like our own personal little game show, but everybody wins. So yeah.
So you mentioned Elizabeth a lot, your business partner. So tell us how you guys work together because, business is not easy by any means. So tell us how you guys kind of bounce off each other, what your roles are compared to hers and how that works together.
Elizabeth is really good with marketing and kind of all things like technological and on the back end and all of our graphic design. So she's really built out the website, which is super nice. I'm tremendously needy, always asking for things like, can you design this in Photoshop, then just pop it in Canva so that I can deal with it easily?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of stuff like that. And she makes all of the overlays. So any event that we're at that has a digital image that's over all of the photo booth images, she designs all of those, and then she sets up kind of everything on the back end. So she's building the microsites where everything is at so that when any event that we do, if you text yourself your image, you also have a gallery access.
Yes.
And that way you can text yourself one, but still see the whole thing. And
or other photos you're in.
Yeah, and we've found that that's been really helpful, especially because that way at the end of the night, I don't have the moms or the parents going through, oh, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. The fact that we can pull up your phone, you hit gallery, you got everything.
And share it. Like when we got married, it was like, hey, everybody, here's your gallery.
We
and
put it on the Facebook group.
Yeah, everyone could see it. It's perfect.
So you guys just bounce because you would be more in the field more often.
Yes, and when it's absolutely crazy and super busy, Elizabeth is a great help on site at events. But the goal is for her to be, my personal goal is for on really heavy event days, for her to basically be just available for tech support so that if there is, any kind of issue, she can usually handle that pretty quickly. So one of my 2024 goals is to not make her set up and tear down as many events as she did in 2023.
Damn.
Yeah, it's just like that hustle that you have to get because like you said, you mentioned New Year's Eve. How many events was that?
We had like 18 kind of across the board, and it was real crazy. But we do photo booth events, and then we also do kind of visual installations. So we have backdrops. We can make our own wood acrylic and neon signs. We do the balloon installations, and so with that, it's a mixture of different things.
That's what my next question was going to be is like what your service is.
Yeah.
Because you've got where you can have a photo booth and you can have a standing
so you can
or an actual person to talk to us about what you offer.
So we have kind of our two versions is either the classic or the premiere. Both of those versions are going to allow guests to take photos, boomerangs, slow motion clips, and GIFs or GIFs. I don't really care what you call it, as long as your check clears. Say what you want to say. And so guests are able to do an unlimited amount of kind of those 4 different experiences. With our booths, we always are sending out kind of, in addition to the ring light, we have light stands because just kind of bathing people in a soft, healthy glow makes everybody look a little bit better. And you can have it with or without a backdrop. So, for example, at Union Station, we do a lot of photo booths that don't have a backdrop because we're pointing out into the room, and then the beautiful ceiling in Union Station.
It's a backdrop on its own.
Yeah, and it's professionally lit all night. So we do many events where we drop off a booth, or you can have staff on site to guide kind of the game show and choreograph everything for guests. And then we also have Classic is fully digital. Premiere always has printing. So, and with us, we say unlimited printing within the concept of every person in the photo gets a photo. So if a groomsman takes an incredible selfie, unfortunately, we are not going to make him 50 copies so that he can sign them and give them away to people throughout the course of the open bar.
You get your one photo.
It's one of those things where, we want everyone that's in the photo to have an opportunity to walk away with one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can also do on-site scrapbooks. We do that for a lot of the weddings where we're making images for all of the guests, but then there's an additional image that's being printed and put in a book. And then we actually have an additional staff member that just comes to do the guest book, because in the past, I have seen inappropriate things drawn in the guest book. And so when there's somebody there to kind of not only stop you and say, hey, sign this, but also it's nice to make sure that there's somebody there to make sure that a drink doesn't get spilled on it, or if they're, if they have hors d'oeuvres in their hands, that they're not touching it.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a person there to build it and guard it and make sure that it's safe.
Go way left real
exactly.
quick.
Yeah. And then we send it home with the couple that night. So we just did one at this beautiful venue out in the kind of Pacific area, West Wind Hills. And so the groom was he's a professional soccer player. So we had multiple times where, it's a whole bunch of soccer players in, and then you put the photo in the middle and we got them all to sign it. So yeah.
But you're
really
having
cool
somebody
memories.
there, like making sure that gets done. And that way, even the guest book, like the mother-in-law is like, hey, make sure you sign it. But then life gets in the way, and then nobody actually gets to the book.
Well, and what we do is basically you sign the book, and then we hand you your photo, and then you're back to the dance floor in the open bar. And so we've really tried to streamline all of our systems and the experience to make it go as quickly as possible. And all of my staff is kind of competitive against each other, so everyone wants to have the most images. Everyone wants to have the guest book that has the most signatures and
because you get to see
else.
that data.
So
at the end, like, oh my gosh!
So
like,
we're kind of
Jake got 480 photos tonight. Like, wow, crushed.
That's crazy. What's your favorite part of what you do?
I mean, I cry. I usually cry at like every wedding in some way. Like, I just love weddings. And I just get to see a bunch of really cool, crazy things. We did a mitzvah where the guy that does the whip cracking in the Kingsman videos, they brought him in. It was a Western themed mitzvah. And so he was doing, the mitzvah kid literally held up a playing card and he snapped it in half with the whip, like all that stuff.
Crazy.
We did Super Sweet 16, where Big Sean was flown in to perform. That was really cool. And this was back when he was dating Ariana.
Yeah.
And and the next day he was on TV at the American Music Awards. So it's interesting. Brandy was just at one of the events.
Correct.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to do these events where there's, like a celebrity all of a sudden, or like the Fancy Feast cat is a pretty cool celebrity here with Purina in St. Louis.
There you go.
Yeah, so lots of fun with that. And I've been doing this long enough now that I also have so many friends in the industry. So it's really cool to get paid to do what you love with people that you like, admire, and respect and adore.
We
and
feel
like you
that.
said, it's different every day too, which is so interesting. And like your marketing, I know you had mentioned, but like the best marketing is when you're out at an event. You could run all the Facebook ads in the world.
People experiencing it is definitely
because you're working, you're handing out cards. Like the events. Like I recently was at the Four Seasons. Like those are the type of events where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna pop up here because I know a bunch of people that I might want to work with are here. So you mentioned your favorite part, but I want to learn a little bit more about some of the, downfalls that come with business, because like you said, you experience burnout sometimes. So tell us how because you're working every single weekend, no matter what, like you probably miss moments and stuff like that.
It's very weekend heavy. I mean, I would say probably the biggest logistical challenges are going to be when we have a really busy weekend and the weather is like supposed to be beautiful, and at the last minute, if it takes a classic Missouri turn, because the biggest hurdles we really face are when a wedding that they want everything set up before 2 p.m. because of photos and everything else, and and they want to start lighting candles at 3, etc. When the phone call comes and goes, okay, well now it's a room flip because they can't get married in the courtyard anymore. It's gonna rain.
That was almost us.
And so instances like that are frustrating. And then The only time I find myself truly frustrated is when it's a logistical.
Yeah.
Something out of your control
can't
or
control
something
it.
that you did
can't
everything
Because
right.
it's usually, the logistical things are usually something where every vendor involved is getting punished, kind of, in a certain way. And there's some places, Stonehouse of St. Charles, probably some of the fastest room flips in the city,
Wow.
and I'm for 300 guests. I mean, they can flip a room like you wouldn't believe. But it's just, and there's a couple of venues where if we have to take everything up a bunch of stairs or if an elevator goes down, that's
Oh yeah.
that's no fun.
Yeah. I can imagine. I know. I think about that. That was something we were looking at when we were doing venues. Is like the
Parking,
accessibility.
the access, that's insane. Yeah, you guys do so many events, so you get to see all these beautiful venues. So when everybody's like, you would be the person you need to ask, like, hey, where should we get married at? Because you've been to every single venue. I mean, every single venue.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that when people in my friend group get engaged, they go, okay, these are the vibes I want. And everything else. But also, I would say that I can definitely, when my friends are engaged, they're definitely checking out my social media more, daily stories and things like that, and asking questions and everything else to just kind of, like, who was that florist? What was this thing? Where was her dress from? Like, what's that venue? Who was that band?
And you're like, I'll tell you once you put your deposit down.
Right.
On the
basically.
Walk us in
I'll
first,
tell you everything
and
once
then
you
I'll
put the
give you all
deposit
the
down.
secrets.
That's so funny because that is true because you get to see all these like wonderful places. But there seems to be in any business there's competition, but there's a lot of people that have photo booth companies that are just kind of like one person show. They're just starting these companies. Like, is there any advice that you would give to people that are trying to crack into your business because you've kind of figured it out over the past 7 years now?
I mean, I think that there's definitely all the time. One thing that I don't necessarily love is when someone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy one of these and do this too," and I'm like, "Ooh, how often do you go out on the weekends? How much do you like your weekends? Do you have a 9-to-5 job?" Just because it is, I mean, it's work. It's not all, like, yes,
it's not just plugging something in.
The end result at these events is, it's beautiful and it looks cool, but like all that stuff has to be built up and dance floors have to be put down and linens and there's all these logistics and everything else. And so I definitely think that and I'm probably guilty of perpetuating, the like, look how easy it is, look how fun it is, because there's an aspect of it that is fun and easy.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that a lot of people, like, when people are like, "Oh, I want to do that too," I'm like, okay, great. But I usually try to be like, why don't you come work for me? Like, come work for me. Then you don't have to work every weekend.
Right.
You're going to guarantee to get paid.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that's what you really want. Only because it does take a lot of, like, it does take a lot of back end stuff. And a lot of people, I think, just in general don't understand that, the equipment has to live somewhere and you have to be very well insured. That was a big thing
because your drunk Uncle Tommy.
Is that, yeah, exactly. Well, and a lot of venues now are really, really cracking down on, hey, I have to have a copy of business. Last year we probably got 23 bookings from the pure standpoint of a client calling and saying, hey, we actually hired somebody else and they're not insured. And so the venue won't let us have them in there. And I'm like, well, of course not. Because if anything happens with that company, the venue is who's going to get sued,
So
and
you usually have to get a certificate for that specific venue and like present that to them and like get one.
Yeah, you can. There's different aspects of it.
Or they might have one on file.
Yeah, we have multiple photo booths and we're doing multiple events every week. So we have really broad and expansive coverage just because
there's so many
there's
places.
a lot of liability.
We've seen enough things, and luckily we're not. We're using really good, like, our backdrops everything is kind of the best that you can get so that I don't really have to worry about anything happening. And like, knock on wood, we've been really, really lucky. But I think people don't understand that there is a lot of correspondence and there is a lot, like, we show up in the parties, fancy and fun and sparkly, but we still had to do a lot on the back end, and like emails back and forth and double checking logistics and everything else. And I am very lucky because I do have personal relationships with so many of these venues that there's a lot of people I can just text and be like, hey, can I do this? Can I break the rules in these ways?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I'll text you now. Now I'm like, we don't need an email. I'm like, can we have you here?
And people don't understand that. And I think that's like something that people come to us all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, like, your job is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, but like you didn't see the 5 years of before it
Right.
was cool.
Yeah.
You didn't see the
Yeah.
5 years of, oh, that's like not cool and
Yeah.
it's hard. And we weren't making any money. And still, even as a business owner, like people are like, oh my gosh, you're balling out. And it's like, dude, I'm driving around the same car, just trying to get to the same spot,
Right.
doing the
Yeah.
same things. And I don't even have time to celebrate the wins. Like you said, like New Year's Eve would be a perfect night where it's like, let me go on a date tonight. Let me celebrate the wins. But like you're breaking down
So
18
that's the
different
big
things.
sacrifice for you, I'm sure, is like miss
Relationships.
weekends, just time with family and people.
Yeah, a lot of rescheduling.
Yeah.
Like rescheduling or working around my schedule, stuff like that. But
we're gonna do Valentine's Day on a different day,
Yeah.
or we're gonna do New Year's celebration on Tuesday. You know, whatever. Whatever, it just looks different.
I am really lucky. My partner is also a workaholic and owns his own business.
Oh,
So
really?
go.
there's
It
a lot
works.
of understanding
Yeah,
there. And
that's
that helps.
nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys just hustle, and then you go on vacation and like disconnect.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
so what's the unplugging like? Like, what's your ideal? If it's not a Taylor Swift concert, like, are you?
Yeah, I
like-
mean, we definitely do as many concerts as possible. Last year was Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Shania Twain, and Lizzo.
all
You know,
hits.
so we
All the best.
we got some
All
good stuff
of
in
the
there.
best.
Truly not even sure what all I'm gonna go and see in 2024. Yeah, but my ideal is I try to do 2 vacations a year, like a week somewhere, earlier and a week somewhere later. So I got to do Hawaii and Cancun this past year. It was awesome. I have a really good friend, Travel with Samantha, that plans all my travel for me, and she's local to St. Louis, but she plans travel worldwide. And so I like a day of travel that's relaxing to get to the place, like 5 to 7 days there, and then a day of travel back because I don't want to be stressed in an airport.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in an airport when everything is closed. I'm like, I just want it to be like one full leisurely day of travel. And then because I don't want to arrive or return stressed.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of
It is a lot of
managing expectations.
Right.
That is true.
Is
because,
important.
like, we used to get back from trips on like a Sunday night and be like right back to work on Monday morning, like without having to like recharge and like refresh. No, that's incredible advice. I think that I wish I could disconnect more because like now with digital, like I could just pull up like a P&L report, or you could pull up like social media, or you can there's always an email that you can respond to. As much as you try to close everything out.
Oh yeah.
There's always
What's
something
that
that
like?
you
Do you
can
do you set boundaries and like time frames of like when
seem
you're
like
gonna
you-
do emails and
You seem like you respond
like, are
all
you
the
in your
time,
bed
anytime.
at 11 o'clock
I-
at night? Like, I'll just get this email.
It's a weird ebb and flow because not only are we're the busiest on the weekends, but also that's so that means that guests are out experiencing everything that we do on the weekends. So the fact that you can go on the website and really kind of tune in and check on and see everything with pricing, and the website will even calculate travel fees because we do travel kind of wherever you want us to go. And so that's been like I am definitely answering emails and texts and calls probably more than I should, and it's really hard to set, it's hard to set email and correspondence hours because it's just one of those things where like if I'm working a wedding during toasts and speeches and first dance, I'll just hop on, check my phone, check my email, see everything else, because there's a lot of clientele where if you corporate clientele, especially if they randomly reach out and you can get back to them in the first 20 minutes, they're just that much more likely to just, oh, great. Thank you so much for answering my
And they just
questions.
check it
Let's
off
go
their
ahead.
list, and
Yeah.
they just
Let's
check
go
it
ahead
off
and
their
book.
list.
Yeah.
And so, and there are, those instances where even though the website is as transparent as we can make it, they're still kind of like asking about it. And
There's questions.
yeah,
and-
well, and like one thing we're adding to 2024 is like the roaming photo booths. So we do have 2 of those. But we also want clients to really understand kind of the management and expectations of those things. Because, for example, the roaming photo booths can be really cool.
Is that the thing that
But
like the 360?
no, so it's one where we carry it around and the lighting is actually with the battery pack. So there's it can walk around the party and take pictures.
Got it.
And so there are pros and cons to it, and so that's just one of those things where I want to be really transparent with the clientele about it, because yes, it can be very fun and cool, but the flip side of it is that like some venues don't like the roaming booths, and you also have to just kind of be aware for a fundraiser, for example, if you also have people going around trying to sell like tickets to a raffle or everything else, well, the more things that you have that kind of interfere with people making those sales in real time, it will be a financial setback to that fundraiser. So kind of like helping them understand those kinds of things and stuff like that. And it can be I think we'll end up doing like the roaming photo booths for a lot of higher end weddings where they would like the roaming for cocktail hour because it's in a different place than the full reception. And so for the actual reception ballroom, we'll have the full setup and the backdrop and all of their custom props and everything else, because custom props is also one of my favorite things.
You do.
Making people's like pets, cats and dogs and things into props. And we had we also have had a couple weddings where like they've been really big equestrians, so we do like their horse, but like big horse heads, and that's really fun.
People
and when
love to
we
incorporate
made
their
our
pet.
logos the one time. Like it's just the little like that's one like advice I would give to a business owner. It's just like that white glove service that they always talk about. It's
really
just like one little
customizing
thing that doesn't take you that much more time. But it's like if I can make this printout, or if I can make this thing without them asking, like, and go above and beyond, like those are the types, like the picture we have with our logo. Like I have that picture. We posted that picture. You know, it's like that's like those little details, and like even the sponsors, and like, oh, you have these sponsors, let's get them on here. Yeah. You know, they're paying a lot of money to be at
and
this
we
party.
And I love to see, so the pet props, the custom props that we make for clients, we try to just send with those clients because there's not really any use for me to have their dog as a prop afterwards. And we always try to make a couple, because I understand that there's probably going to be a copy of the dog drunk on the dance floor with somebody. But then I also want one that can be with the photo booth for all of the picture taking that we're going to do. But we just had a bride that we sent their props home, and like the top of the Christmas tree was like put it in the, so it's like with the like a bow Christmas tree topper, and you know, tagged us on Instagram. And we get tagged a lot on honeymoons where they take like their pet props on the honeymoon to just, you know,
for
if you're at an all-inclusive bar, you get a shot for your new spouse, a shot for you, and a shot for the dog.
That's
you know,
and then you take it.
It's a fun Instagram moment.
That's
so
cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, we're really all about kind of like the visual installations and the memories of it.
Yeah.
And we've always really wanted our setups and everything to be really crisp and clean, so that photographers and videographers at events don't feel like they have to kind of pivot so that it's not shown.
A lot of
which has
photographers
also been
take
great.
pictures of it, the booth, because like the lighting looks really good. Like we have this really great picture from our photographer of like all the guys with her.
Yeah,
and all the like groomsmen were like this,
I
and the
love
light
that
was like
picture.
shining right on Marissa, and it was like, and we had the greenery wall, and we had the neon, and like,
well, and it's really cool because those are, you know, we have a lot of professional photographers and videographers that capture kind of the reaction after they've done like a really funny boomerang or something. So when they're all lit up and laughing and everything else, and it's one of those things where it's really complimentary to that whole experience. And then I have a lot of photographers that love it when we're there and we set up early, because then, you know, when the crazy aunt is trying to interfere with the professional photos, they can say, hey, you know, the photo booth is already set up. You can go play in it as much as you want. Why don't, you know, we're going to get your side of the family next. Why don't we're going to do this first. You can go over so there's a lot of redirecting, like, please go play in the photo booth now.
Go.
You guys are like, I mean, you guys have built such a great brand in St. Louis.
Thank you.
Like,
We have a lot of fun.
It's amazing what you've done, and like how kind you are, and like willing to help us. Like,
trying.
How kind. Well,
we'll ride for you forever. Like we are diehard Fête Booth.
And we've had so many special moments, and I know like just like on the drop of a dime, like being able to help people out, and like that goes a long way, because now it's like, okay, we have our wedding, you're our, you know, photo booth. Now we're having our daughter. Boom, you're going to be at the birthday parties. And you're going to be at all the. Like, those are the types of things that I mean,
really, my dream client is they get engaged and we do the engagement party, and then we do like a flower wall or a custom neon, and you know, and that's for the shower. We have some clients that reach out and go, hey, we also would like a booth at rehearsal dinner or like a big welcome party, and then we do the wedding, and then we do the baby shower, and then like the first 5 birthdays, because the first 5 birthdays are just as much for the parents parents as it is for the kid.
for
you know,
sure.
where it's,
For sure.
I know.
because you gotta get those perfect pictures and all of those memories and do all of that stuff before they're immediately demanding.
100%.
And then you have the whole like lifelong client,
Yeah.
and then it's like not only them, but it's their 25 closest friends and family. And
Yeah,
then
and it
it's
is
a
really cool
cycle.
because we do have several families and clients where we have been with them, you know, since
for
the beginning.
all of the occasions.
Yeah.
And you're seeing other people's weddings. The sister, now the brother gets married. Oh, now it's the dad's retirement party.
Yeah.
You know,
And now I've been doing it long enough that I have mitzvah kids that are getting married. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
Like, yeah, it's like, yeah,
You're
I
getting
was,
old,
I
my
was,
guy.
I was at your 13th birthday, and now you're getting married.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and some
Oh
of the
my
sweet
gosh.
16s and stuff, you know, stuff like that. And then, I mean, I do have several clients. I think we just booked like number 28 or 29, where I did the first wedding, and then now they're getting married again, and got to do that one too. And every once in a while, I get a parent that jokes, "It's like you're the only thing we kept from that first marriage."
That's
And I'm like,
Different venue.
I'm like, "Thanks, Dad."
hilarious.
you're like, I'm back.
But yeah,
We
yeah,
kept
yeah.
you.
They're like, we had so much fun
That's
the
funny
first
that
time
you're
around.
keeping
We
track.
had to have
you have like a
come
little
back.
tally board. You're like second.
I have like a notebook of like weird coincidences, and that's a fun one. Because I mean, the other thing is that when people talk about movies like Wedding Crashers, they go, "Oh, well, it's not really like that." No, it is, but it's only really the people that are sober and working the event, kind of, you know, like in our position, that really get to see all of that crazy stuff. So my staff does tend to have kind of the craziest stories because we're really seeing all of the
And you're
all of,
sitting there. So
we're in
taking it
we're in
all
all of the
in.
hullabaloo as everyone's drinking, because the bartenders are constantly, you know, making drinks, but we tend to be fairly close to the dance floor, or we're in a corner where we kind of have the view of the whole space. Also, guests love to, you know, come up to the photo booth. Oh, you'll never guess what happened, and then they tell you all the tea, and it's so good.
hilarious.
Oh,
And
you
it's
can
so
overhear
good.
the arguments.
Always.
You're like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
Karen and her husband are arguing again.
Yeah.
Right at their table. Everybody's on
Yeah.
the dance floor. There's a person here arguing, and you're like, did you guys see that?
And we also are very, very ironically confided in a lot. You know, to be like. This beer is empty. Nobody knows I'm pregnant. Like we get a
I'm
lot of
sure.
that, because they're like we want to do like
Act like we're drinking,
like we
but-
want to do a drinking boomerang, or you know, can we do a prom photo pose? But like, I would like to have my hands on her belly. You know, we
Yeah.
want it to look prom, but then when we announce it, we want to, you know, be
Have
able to
this
post it.
And you're the
photo.
first
Like,
one to
nobody
know.
knew. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
like,
Because they're
that's
not going
really
to say
cool.
anything while that other person's moment's going on, but then also it's like people tell people the weirdest things. Like our friend,
Private things.
like
I think that there's a lot of instances where they're just itching. They're
Yeah.
you know.
And you got to tell somebody.
Yeah.
And you guys are that
Yeah, and
somebody.
so that's really fun.
often.
And then we have a lot of, it's all my staff, myself included. We're always checking the left hand to see, because if you have an engagement ring, we're doing an engagement ring photo shoot.
Yeah.
Like no question about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask questions about it, and everything else. And we ask a lot of our couples what their engagement story is, and it's just really cool. And
And you're like, by the way, here's mine.
and I feel really lucky, because we're really only hired by people that really have that, and they want us there. You know, like there are certain aspects of a party that are, oh well, you know, you have to have food, you have to have drinks, you have to have some sort of music, entertainment, stuff like that. But we're not really. Because I've worked in other avenues of the event industry, I feel very lucky that I don't really deal with entitlement or rudeness. Or, you know, like the bridezilla isn't really something that I have any part of. And if any clients that are kind of a handful for everyone else tend to be delightful to us. You know, because with us, they're like, we just want your staff to watch all of our friends get drunk and have a really good time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's a lot of after the fact where they look through the gallery and they go, I never thought Uncle Frank was going to be cutting loose in the photo booth the way that he took pictures of everybody. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We noticed that.
And there's a lot of feedback of, I never thought this person would have had such a good time, or like, thank you for getting a photo of my grandma with a glass of champagne, stuff like that.
Just fun things.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you're a luxury
Or
service.
random
Yeah.
groups
Yeah.
of people too, like the random groups. Like there's a picture I think of like my dad and my best friend and like Liz, his sister.
random.
Like that's
Yeah.
just such a
They
random.
would
group
never have a
that-
picture ever
Random-
again. Never in their life again with
random
that
groups in
group
the
of
photo
people
booth
being
is
in a
really
picture.
fun.
But it's
Yeah.
so fun.
That's amazing. Well, it is the STL Bucket List Show.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's it. We love you. We just love you.
The STL Bucket List Show, we like to hear people's bucket list. We like to hear your favorite things about St. Louis, some of your favorite spots. This segment is driven by Bomberito. So, when you're driving to your favorite spots in your van, tell us like some of your favorite spots to eat, maybe some date night vibes, some parks. Like just give us an idea of what are some bucket list spots to you.
You're a busy ass person. What do you do for joy?
I mean, so we really love any of our vendors and catering friends that do open houses or brunches. So Butler's Pantry hosts occasional brunches in the Foundry at 18 Rails. We love them. Russo's has their really cool venue, Piazza Messina, and they do Sunday sips. And then like this year we will be with every third Friday we'll be at Third Degree Glass. They do like they kind of throw a party every third Friday where they're like glass blowing things, and every month has a theme, and that's going to allow us to have any client that's interested in experiencing the photo booth because they've heard about it to kind of come and see us in real time. So anytime I love a brunch, and a Sunday afternoon is usually pretty manageable for me with my schedule. So we love that. My favorite soda is Ski, which is like right across the river, but like Sugar Fire has it.
That's
There's
in
a bunch
Illinois,
of
right?
So I was born in Breeze Hospital, and it's like right next to their bottling plant. So it's been really cool to see that kind of pop up over here.
Their soda's good too.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we do a lot of stuff with like the Scout Guide and with Yelp here in St. Louis, and those are both like really cool opportunities to live, love local is kind of a Scout Guide motto. And then like for me, I'm going to be better this year about giving places reviews on Google, on Yelp,
you told me
kind
to
of
do
everything
that.
else. Because it's something that I do consistently, but I want it to become kind of a
part of the process.
I want it to be more like habitual. Like I want it to
and
be
you do it
like
from your business account.
We do it from business and personal.
To do that.
But yeah, so I like to give reviews because it's one of those things where doing it from the business account also means that like they see the brand is going to be more recognizable to people in St. Louis that are seeing it than like my personal name. So it just kind of, and it also, as someone who loves to receive Google reviews and reviews on platforms, I'm like, well, like there's no better way to put a smile on somebody's face than them getting that email from Google that's like, hey, somebody left you, hey, Fête Booth left you a 5-star review and talked about it and like posted pictures from the party.
And you'll do that at restaurants, at venues, at anywhere, anytime. I think that that's a good thing for everyone to do. And people that, there are those people that leave the 1-star reviews, but then you go to their reviews and they're habitually leaving 1-star reviews. You can always tell that, but like if people would the people that really had a good experience would just leave the review that they thought they had, then it would outweigh all of those random 1-stars. Because the only people that are leaving some of these at restaurants are typically bad experience. When you leave a restaurant, that's just what you expect to have a good experience.
I don't, I tend to only really leave positive reviews, but I also will leave like high point, low point, or I loved this about this place, but moving forward, we're going to do this XYZ differently. And I also like to leave reviews that make it, if anytime I would leave a bad review or would not leave a 5-star review would probably be more in line with the concept of, I think there's a problem in management. I think you need more staff. I think the morale of the staff is low. So I try to leave a positive review that just then mentions, like, hey, it does seem like everyone is trying their best, but we just went somewhere where I was like, if they had 2 more people working today, everyone's life would be easier. Like, I feel like everyone there, because if you go somewhere and everyone is overworked and stressed and there's not enough people, or if you can tell that there's definitely someone on staff today that's not pulling their weight because it's making everyone else miserable.
It's reflective.
And sometimes that's one of those things where, it has to be written down in order for management to go, okay, maybe we're not scheduling enough people, or, maybe we need a buffer, or maybe we need to redo, best practices and things like that.
And I've done that like in private Instagram DMs to people. I'm like, hey, here's a message, this is what I thought.
We went here.
Because it's really like hard as a business owner. It's so hard anyways. And like people, luckily we haven't had any below 5s, but we're also a service base. We work with a lot less people than you. You guys work with so many people. But it's like, it's so hard to leave that without just at least telling them first. Say, hey, just want to let you know, like, this happened. Like, we weren't able to get our food today, or the service was a little bit slow. But yeah, leave reviews. That's actually a good goal for the New Year's. Every place I go to, I'm going to start leaving reviews at, because like you said, when you do it from your business page, not only are you giving a recognizable brand, they're able to see that, but then it's also helping your local SEO ratings and all your other stuff that you're doing and helping you guys rank as well. So, Jake, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, guys.
Is there, drop your tags, drop your website, tell people how they can get in touch, what they can do to support.
Any fun things happening?
So we have, this comes out in February, so we'll have, after that, we'll have the Off-White Wedding Show coming up. That'll be at the Chase Park Plaza. You can DM us for free tickets. And we are on Instagram, we are at Fête Booth, FETEBOOTH. And then we are Eye Candy Rentals, EYE, like eye candy, and Eye Candy Confetti. And so we do... with the photo booth, we do like photo booth installations, and then Eye Candy Rentals, we do backdrop installations and visual kind of things, kind of like that Instagram moment that everybody wants to have at their party. And then Eye Candy Confetti is all of our signage. So that's going to be neon signs, wood and acrylic signs. And then for local businesses, we do a lot of the name tags for places, because we can do a pretty short turnaround on that. But so we have a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Book your next event with Jake and the team over there. Appreciate you guys. See you next week.
Episode 99.
99. Thanks again for tuning in to the STL Bucket List Show. This podcast is presented by Bankhead and Firth Ortho. Bankhead and Firth is family-friendly and family-focused right here in St. Louis. They just celebrated their 50-year anniversary, and they have 5 locations that are all near you right here in St. Louis. Head over to their website at bankheadandfirthortho.com.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.